What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Talkin Wellness, presented by South Florida Wellness Network. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Christian.
Kayla.
And welcome back to another riveting episode. Today we bring you back My Story Matters. Yes, we've been gone for a couple of weeks, man. It felt like an eternity, but we're finally back. Last week, you saw the episode where we interviewed veterans to talk about PTSD. I loved recording that episode. It should be out today for us since we're recording this today. Today's when it should have come out. So we hope you guys are watching and enjoying that one. But today we brought a very, very special guest. Now, I told you guys last week, and I'm going to commit to my promise, that we had an incredible story to share with you guys today. Today we invite Dr. John Giordano to share his story and a little bit of the impact that he's been able to do to our beautiful community. So, Dr. John, welcome. Good to have you.
You know what? And you pronounced my name correctly.
I know. I was literally hoping you would.
That's amazing.
Can you reiterate it just to make sure? How did I say it? I said Dr. John Giordano.
Giordano.
Yeah, because I'm assuming it's Italian.
You gave that Italian. There's no assumptions here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Spanish speaking, so I'm just assuming.
I'm Latin, so
there you go.
Come on, we're bros.
We are bros. So we really want to give you the opportunity here to kind of share with the audience your story a little bit, and we just want to hear from you.
Thank you very much. First of all, it's an honor to even work with all of you, helping God's kids. Yeah. And to me, that's a blessing. Yeah. And for all of you out there that may or may not be listening to this, we're just sharing information to help you. Everybody has their own journey, their own way of doing things. Mm-hmm. We're just giving you information, and maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't, maybe you'll find your own path. And so I'll just give you a little background on me. This way we can see if we match, okay? I'm a recovering addict. I'm coming up on 40 years of recovery. I didn't think I would get 40 minutes.
Woo.
Nice.
But I got 40 years in December 4th. And it was a heck of a journey. As most of you know, your journeys are quite exhausting sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay? So I come from a Mafia-type family. My father was a heroin dealer. My uncle was a hitman. He worked for the families. My grandfather was a Shylock. Those are the kind of guys that loan you money, and if you don't pay, well, you'll pay one way or the other.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of family. My other relatives were nefarious type people that did all kinds of, things. Anyway, my uncle, when I was 20 or 19, I got married, and he threw my wedding. Well, there was only one problem with that wedding. The caterer insulted him in front of my family. So he killed him. Then we had to leave town real early, my new bride. So that was my beginning journey, okay, on different marriages. And I say different marriages because, when you're using, you get different marriages.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, there you go.
So my father, when I was 8, went to jail. He got caught selling heroin until he came out when I was 12. But before that, 8 and a half, I got molested by some boys in the neighborhood, and it was very confusing for me because part of it felt good. And, it's the shame and the guilt and the fear that anybody's going to find out. And why was I even thinking that way? Well, when you touch something in your body that's very sensitive, it could feel good. Yeah. And most people are ashamed to talk about this stuff. It has no power over me anymore because I want to let people know that have been molested that you can get through all that. Yes. And it's part of your journey. I remember I did a podcast once and he said, well, what would you change in your life? I said, absolutely nothing. I says, you know why? Because everything that happened got me to where I am today. And we're going to talk where I am today briefly. Yeah. And then I want to talk about how my journey maybe can help you.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up because I think it was recently, Michael and I, we were talking about that specifically, like how challenging must it be to deal with that situation and now have to deal with all that confusion that comes with it, right? Because it's not just the abuse, it's the confusion of it as well.
Well, it happened to me twice. And when I was 9, the babysitter, she was 14, I was 9, and I got molested by her. Wow. And then I got into gangs, and I got into all this other stuff, and I got into karate when I was 14 and a half, and that kind of saved me from the gangs. I never did drugs until I was about 19 or 20.
What would you say to people, because sadly I have heard this in the past, what would you say to people who have this mentality where it's like, oh, you were molested by a female? What, that should be an honor. Like, what do you say to that kind of people who have that sort of mentality?
Well, you know what? If that's your mentality, go for it. But all I can tell you is this: at 9 years old, it's very confusing. And what happens is you no longer trust women. It's very confusing about women as you make them objects instead of people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I mean, how much can a 9-year-old really put together? See, children are wonderful observers, lousy interpreters.
Right.
They don't have enough
Wow.
experience to
That's
interpret
true.
things properly.
Correct. And so an experience like that can create a lot of deeper rooted things underneath. And there's so much shame in something like that it becomes, I love that you say, like, this is the one thing that most people don't want to talk about. So you talk about it so that people know that they can heal from it, right? And that they can overcome it. Because that's recovery too. There's recovery from all kinds of things, but that in itself is a powerful recovery story that you've shared with us.
Well, fear is the mind killer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and FEAR, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And what people do is they, I would just say this politely on television here, they F everything and run.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Is that what, more appropriate?
Yeah,
I
there
you go. and that's what we always do. He's always running. It's like a dog running away from its tail. Doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
So anyway, if those of you who've been molested out there, go to a therapist that knows about these things, and stop getting lost. You see, addicts, alcohol, most people, they get hung up in the past. Okay, that's where the oppression starts to come from. And then they get hung up in the future, and that's where anxiety comes from.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
now, that is the only time that you can change what happens in your life in the future, your past or your lessons.
Yeah.
There are no failures, only lessons. So if you want to get hung up on failures, good. The only time there's a failure is when you quit.
That's right.
Period.
Oh, I love that. Come on, put that on a t-shirt right now. Amazing.
So to go forward, I never did any drugs. I became a karate champion, Black Belt Hall of Fame, all this kind of stuff. You guys can look me up if you want. All those accolades are wonderful, but what really matters to me is helping God's kids in recovery.
Yeah.
Nice.
So as it went along, I wound up getting into drugs with a girl, and it just escalated. Everything was fine. We used to
This
party.
isn't the wife, though. This is not the wife that you got into drugs with, that you married?
No, yeah, the one that I married. Well, I've been
okay.
married 4 times. My father said, keep doing it till you get it right.
Okay. So right now we're discussing wife number 1. Okay.
That's amazing.
So, listen, life shows up. I
Yeah.
mean, what can I
It
tell
does,
you?
yeah.
I was practicing. I got engaged about 3 or 4 times too.
There you go.
That's what addicts do. We hop from one thing to another.
That's
Besides
true.
drugs and alcohol,
What is it?
we
One
hop
is
to
too
people
many.
to people.
Another,
Yeah, there you go.
I was a love and sex addict, I think, because of the abuse.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what winds up happening.
Yep.
All right?
Interesting.
So what happens is you end up looking at women as sexual objects, not as human beings.
Yeah.
So those are the things that people that have got molested, they need to work on. Other things is families. I always tell people, addicts, when I'm doing group, they say, well, you don't know my family. So I tell you what, I'll loan your mind for a while. Let me know how you do. I went to treatment, not because I needed help. I went to treatment because my family, now I told you who my family was, did an intervention on me.
Wow.
I'm saying, who's doing an intervention on them? What am I doing here?
Incredible. Okay.
Right?
That's actually very interesting. Okay. So my question, I guess, would follow. Obviously, I know you're going to probably talk about your president and stuff like that, but did you, was there anybody in your family who tried that route of recovery that inspired them to want to be like, hey, maybe you should try it? Or was it just completely out of the blue?
My family?
No?
They don't even know what the word meant.
Well, there
let
you go.
alone
Okay.
try with recovery.
But they thought you were bad off enough that they needed to come
They
and
needed
intervene.
to get me
Okay.
into treatment.
Okay.
My father had died from a heart attack, and everybody was worried about me instead of my mom.
Interesting.
And the only reason I went to treatment is because my mother said, she'll never talk to me again. And, Latin mothers, Italian mothers, well, most mothers, that care about their kids are not like that. So I said, all right, to get everybody off my back, tell them to leave me alone, and I'll just go. And I had some Coke in my sock. I went to the bathroom, got high, and then went up with dark sunglasses like, I don't want anybody to know who I
So
was.
how old were you the first time you went into treatment?
37.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I was getting wild. I I said I'd never be like my family. I wound up doing collection work for the smugglers. I used to teach one of the cartels in Colombia, in Cartagena, their bodyguards. Okay, self-defense. I was a drug dealer. I was an arms dealer. I did everything known to man. Okay, collection work. So, I had about 200 black belts. So I had a bunch of guys that had a little army that, do collection work and selling kilos of cocaine or whatever I could sell.
Yeah.
Then that's the route most addicts do, that start getting high with their own product and,
Right.
start going crazy, looking for money. He was always looking for money,
Always.
So I had two lives. One, I was helping a bunch of kids, not to do drugs, and I was getting high. And, it's just like, if you guys want to know my story, instead of me going to the whole story, I want to get to the part where I can help you more
Yeah,
than,
for sure.
I know this will help you to relate, but let's get now, how do you get out of the relate to the actual recovery part?
Right.
Yeah.
You
What
know?
was that turning point for you, like the real recovery?
Well, the turning point for me was in treatment, actually. Now, I remember going into treatment. I didn't even know what treatment was. I didn't even know what the hell these people were talking about. Anyway, I went into group, and the therapist says, well, we want you to share your stuff that's going on, emotions, things that happened to you. I said, look, first of all, I won't even get high with you people. Second of all, if I tell you what I'm going to have to, all my deep, darkest secrets, I'm going to have to kill you. So I'm definitely not going to tell you anything. So that was my attitude. I never emptied my suitcase. My suitcase was always packed. Okay, I used to pull my shirts out, wrinkled or not, I didn't care. Okay, I was always at the elevator with my suitcases, ready to leave. But my family knew the owners of the treatment center, so they kept pulling me back. And, John, once you got to stay, and I said, okay, I'll stay. Anyway, I went in December 4th, and then I was in treatment about 2.5 weeks. And, when you go into treatment, you're really like in a fog. Okay, the drugs are working on your brain. Your brain is not working properly. You think it is, but it's not. And if you don't believe that, look at the decision you make and look where you winded up with those decisions.
Exactly.
So you'll figure it out real quick. Okay? Anyway, I wanted to go home for Christmas Eve. I didn't want my kids to see me there. And they said no. Well, you don't, if you want to know how good an addict's doing in treatment, just tell them no. And then you'll watch the behavior change real quick. Because we're all con men, we're all manipulators, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got really pissed off. And I didn't even get pissed off. I got rageful, not just angry. Right? And it took me hours or days sometimes to get over it. I go in, I punch the door. And all that. I remember my therapist telling me in my head, he says, John, you ever pray on your knees? I said, look, man, I got calluses on my knees. I'm a recovering Catholic. I said, what are you talking about? Of course I pray on my knees. So he said, what, to God, to who, whatever that is, okay, out there. I was very angry, very shameful, very guilty, seeing how I hurt myself and everybody else,
Yeah.
And I just wanted to medicate myself, but, I wanted to run. And that's what we do the best of. So anyway, it kept on going in my head. I says, I'm in so much pain. These emotions are bubbling up. I don't know what to do with them. So I try to get down on my knee, and this is the weird part. And I still remember, it's really weird, that I couldn't get my knee down. And I had to push my knee down. And then I had to push my other knee down. And I says, I don't know what's out there, God, energy, aliens, whatever that is. Please take this away, and I promise you, I will change. And it went away.
Wow.
Like it never was there. Now, I don't know about you or anybody else out there. It has never, ever gone away like that.
Yeah.
And as sick as I was, I tried to get it back. Didn't come back.
Come back.
So that was my spiritual awakening and treatment. Wow. And from then on in, it changed. And the other things happened along the road. But I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And I believe that was inside of me anyway, and that was my goal. Now, I only went to the 9th grade. I got left back in the 6th grade. Okay, so I had no education. I couldn't spell very well. My grammar wasn't that great. But now I got grammar check and spell check, so I'm cool. Okay. So here I am today, which is really interesting. I write books. I lecture all over the world. I'm in 80 medical and scientific peer-reviewed journals. I work with 12 universities. Now, if you would have told me this stuff when I was in treatment, I definitely would have punched you in the face.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
'Cause you're
thinking that
crazy.
you're trying to make fun of me. All right? I was the top karate guy, champion, all this stuff, but very insecure. What
Yeah.
you saw on the outside, you didn't see on the inside, which most of us are like
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
You know? So what all of this stuff happened, I went back to school when I got into treatment. I was petrified because I had to go get my GED, and I didn't go to school for 25 years.
Wow.
But I passed. I don't know how. I even tried to sabotage myself. I didn't read the book for the pre-test. I just went in there cold. And I never forget it. I went up to the desk, and this woman had her back towards me, and I'm waiting. I'm nervous and anxious. Right? And I says, "Hey, lady." She says, "Oh, you must be here for the test, for the GED test." I started to laugh. So she broke my train of thought, you know, all this fear and all this stuff. So I went into the room, and I'm watching these people in the room taking the test. They don't even know how to put their name on the paper. I said, well, if they don't, I got to do better than them. So I guessed. I didn't have algebra when I was growing up, you know, so I just guessed at everything, and I guessed right. God watched over me, and here I am.
Yeah.
Okay? So then I got all my degrees, and went back to school, and I did everything you're supposed to do, scared to death. My sponsor told me, you have to sit in front of the room. I said, I'm not sitting in front of the room. I'm sitting in the back of the room. I don't want anybody to call on me.
Yeah.
No. You sit in the front. I said, oh, man. So I sat in the front. And the funny part about it was I became the valedictorian of the Addiction Training Institute.
Wow.
Now, how did that happen? I don't know. I just kept doing things.
You kept
Yeah.
doing it.
But, you know, so I started to see, I went to school to get licensure, and I saw looked at the book. It was like 5, 6 years old. I says, it's already outdated. By the time I get out of school, it's going to be antiquated. So what am I doing in school? So I left. And then I got my certifications. Then I went back, and I got other things, and here I am today. So what I learned, and I really got fortunate, I became one of the leading experts in psychedelic medicine, which is now all of a sudden popular. That's in 1996 I got involved in that with Dr. Deborah Mash. She's a neuromolecular scientist from the University of Miami School of Medicine. She's the head of the Brain Bank and the Alzheimer's Foundation. As a matter of fact, she just retired from there to go with the FDA, trying them to allow Ibogaine to become a substance where we can detox people because they consider it a Schedule I drug, which is baloney. Believe me, I'm going to tell you what Ibogaine is real quick.
Yep.
You don't want to do Ibogaine every day. You don't even want to do it once, believe it or not. It's like traveling back into all your traumas. It's like living in hell, okay? So people say, well, why would you want to live in hell? I said, well, here's what the story is. Talk therapy deals with the software of the brain, okay? Psychedelics and EMDR, which I'll explain to you also, deals with the hard drive. It's the hard drive that drives everything. It's like on your computer, okay? These brains are like computers, all right? So if you get rid of the stuff on your computer, it's always on your hard drive. That's why when the FBI comes in, believe me, I know about that, they take your hard drive.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right? So what winds up happening is what Ibogaine is a bush from West Africa that was used by the Weedy tribe as a rite of passage. And what happened was this Howard Lutzoff wanted to get a new high, went to Gabon in West Africa, did the drug. It was a heavy-duty heroin addict. Woke up the next morning totally detoxed and without any cravings, which is like unheard of. It usually takes anywhere from 7 to 9 days to stabilize, never alone detox. And then it gets you out of detox centers, which they call detox centers, which they really should call stabilization units. But that's another story. Anyway, he got out of, he went and opened up a place in Panama. He got a hold of Dr. Mash. She worked with him, but us addicts, okay, and addicts I mean by Dr. Blum, he's a geneticist that we work with, and he coined the phrase called RDS, Reward Deficiency Syndrome. That means is you're chasing dopamine and serotonin. So whether it's an eating disorder, whether it's gambling, sex addiction, shopping addiction, whatever addiction, okay, falls under that category.
Yeah.
So Ibogaine, what it does is it resets your neurotransmitters in your brain, like fresh, okay? But now you have to go to treatment. Psychedelic medicine is not a silver bullet. You have to support it, just like if you were going to take a seedling and put it in the ground and watch it, want to make it grow, you got to get sun, you got to get water, proper soil content. Okay, so same thing with psychedelic medicine. and it has to be done medically safe, because there's rule outs. You can't have can't be psychotic. You can't have schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder. You can't be there's a different disorders you can't be. Dissociative disorder. Those are rule outs for that. You can't have a heart that's not working properly. Okay, you can't have certain drugs on board because it interferes with the ibogaine and you could die. All right, so it has to be done properly by people that know what they're doing. Yeah. Okay, so that's ibogaine. That's psychedelics. And there's other psychedelics like ketamine is also a good help for people that suffer from severe depression and anxiety. But there's always a but. You need to be done right, not at home. Yeah. Need it done with an IV in a medical center under beautiful conditions, okay, and a therapist that sits.
Well, let me ask you this about it, because you said it's like going through hell, like quickly.
Okay, I'll explain that to you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. What that means is this. When you go into this journey, which is anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12 hours, okay, you're in this space in your subconscious hanging out. And all your traumas are there and all the stuff that happened to you in the past. Yeah. Okay, and you're reliving them. But the way you relive them, to make it simplistic, is like you're going in as an adult,
right,
looking at all these things. And you get what is known as a cathartic experience. In other words, you're looking at these things like there's a glass in between the traumas, okay, and the emotions.
Yeah.
So you're looking at it from an intellectual point of view. Okay, so everything is completely different then. You're not emotionally connected to it. So now you got, you see, look, I can't fix it, I can't change it, but the only thing I can really do is learn from it. And you move forward. Okay? So that's what it does. And as far as post-acute withdrawal syndrome, which most people have, that's why addicts relapse a lot of times. Okay? Once you stop the drugs, you got all this other stuff going on.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And the bottom line is you don't have that when I became.
Interesting.
Now, it's called a Schedule I drug, so they can't do it here in the United States. That's why it's in Mexico, it's in Costa Rica, it's in all kinds of places.
Yeah.
I've heard of, so I've done EMDR, right? And so, you mentioned that, which was, life-changing for me, because I'm somebody, my recovery journey is a lot of trauma too. So that's why I kind of caught my attention when you kind of talked about and I've heard of other people that have done through psychedelics and have had these experiences.
It's similar.
Okay.
So now, but EMDR, Dr. Shapiro is the one that found it. I've been doing EMDR for 23 years. I think she founded it about 25 years ago, 26, somewhere around there. And I redeveloped it because they felt that when she put it out there to the public, she had to fight against the psychiatrist, thought she was a joke, and thought EMDR was stupid. Putting your hands in front of somebody's eyes is going to fix them from trauma, And what she did was she kind of in my opinion, watered it down a little bit and made 6 sessions out of it and all this stuff. So what I did was I also have a master's in neurolinguistic programming, NLP. I'm a hypnotherapist, and I also do holotropic breathing. So I put all those modalities together with the EMDR.
Interesting.
20 minutes, trauma's gone. And I always tell people, I don't want you to believe a word I tell you. Please don't believe me. Sit down in my chair. If it doesn't work, you can laugh at me. But I've been doing this for 23 years. Nobody's ever laughed yet.
There you go.
I work with our vets that come back from war. I work with people that have been molested, been raped. I'm also a chaplain for the police department in North Miami. I work with officers over the years that have been in shootings. So that's the kind of work I do.
Yeah.
And people that learn EMDR, which I suggest they do so they get a good foundation, then I retrain them into the way I do it, which is called TRT, Trauma Release Technique. And we get much better results with people. Because emotions are not just in your head, they're in your body.
Yeah. The body keeps the score.
That's right.
Yeah.
The body keeps the score. You read that book. That's right. So, and that's what I've done. Now, talking about depression and anxiety, where do you guys think that comes from, by the way?
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because here at South Florida Wellness Network, we work with both groups. We work with people who are substance use, and we work with people who are mental health and recovery as well. As a matter of fact, a lot of us, especially here on the podcast, we struggle with that one. So I'm very interested to hear your perspective on...
Well, I'd like to know your perspective. Where do you think it comes from?
What specifically?
Depression and anxiety.
Definitely, it can come from trauma. it can come from past experiences, and it can come from lineage. It can come from generations.
Okay, this is the problem why we only have an 8 to 10% recovery rate.
Okay.
Exactly what you're saying,
Okay.
because that's all we're looking at. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
The last time you checked, is your body connected to your head?
I would say yes.
Yeah. So why aren't we talking about the body?
Interesting.
I've been talking about the gut, which is now called the second brain,
Right.
for 25 years. They used to laugh at me. Okay?
Right.
The gut, you have more neurons in your gut than you have in your brain. Now, this is all science, guys. Don't believe me. Go look it up.
Go look it up. Yeah.
I always tell people,
Absolutely.
look it up. Don't believe anything I tell you.
Absolutely.
Please, go look it up. So, when your gut's out of whack, your head's out of whack.
Yep.
Now, why is
Absolutely.
that? Okay, I'm going to give you some. Look it up. If you have low testosterone, you can have depression and anxiety.
Interesting.
Factual. You have a low thyroid, you can have depression and anxiety. Factual.
Yep.
Interesting.
High testosterone, you're still going to have depression and anxiety.
Yep.
Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, depression
No
and
blood
anxiety.
sugar. Yeah.
H. pylori infection, depression and anxiety. Closed head injuries, depression and anxiety. Okay? Look at the things we're not
So I
looking
love
at.
this because I'm so like health and like holistic health of like how you connect all of those pieces. I'm a firm believer. I've even seen it like firsthand, one in my own life, but then even with my son who was like diagnosed ADHD, had all of these different challenges, and really being able to pinpoint diet, his trauma, because he has trauma from my addiction and things like that, and just overall holistic health.
I'm going to give you another piece.
Okay, go.
Okay?
Yeah.
Heavy metal toxicity.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Okay, interferes with neurotransmission. It mimics attention deficit disorder and bipolar disorder. Go look it up. Remember Michigan with the lead? I'm going to tell you something really
Yeah.
cool. I was in Italy, my wife and I, and we went to Herculean, and that's one of the cities that got with the eruption from the volcano that
Yeah.
buried, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they found some of the logs of what's going on with the city, and how people were dying at 30, 25, and they had a lot of mental illness. Okay, do you know why? A lot of mental illness in Rome, and anybody know wwhy?
The metals from the volcano.
No, you know why? What are the Romans famous for? Plumbing.
Oh.
Plumbing. They did plumbing, and what did they use for pipes? Lead. Hello. And if you don't think lead poisoning doesn't hurt you, go look it up.
That's my favorite phrase of the whole episode. Look it up.
Okay? So heavy metals cause all this disruption. So you have to get chelated out. Now at JC's Recovery Center, I designed the program, okay, that I had at G&G. I owned the program G&G. Remember, I was homeless when I started this journey. After I got out of treatment, I'm going to digress a little bit. After I got out of treatment, I was with my wife for about 9 months. They said, don't make any major changes, but she was still using, and I didn't know what to do, and I kept saying, man, I got to get out of here. I'm going to wind up using with her, you know? Oh, no, bring her to therapy, bring her this. It didn't work. Anyway, I got divorced. That's the second wife, by the way.
Okay.
I just wonder, if you're going to keep score, you want to do it right.
I'm writing it down right now.
So what happened was I left. She got the car, she got the house, she got everything, and I had no place to live. So my friend owned a hotel, and he gave me a room, and I had a bed with a couple of beds in there with a little warmer. A friend of mine loaned me a bicycle. I had a jar where you could throw quarters in when I had quarters. And I was teaching karate to make some money for food. And, I couldn't sell drugs anymore. And I was getting calls, John, do some collection work. You don't have to do it. Just send your guys. I said, no, I'm in recovery. I don't do that. I don't do the drugs anymore. I don't sell drugs anymore. All that kind of stuff. And anyway, that's where that started. That's what my journey started. I don't want to go into all the other things because I want you to get the book, The Kid from the South Bronx Who Never Gave Up.
Absolutely.
It's my life stories. And as my story went through, and I left that I left that area, and when I went through and I kept going and finished school, I did all this stuff. I opened up a treatment center with $300. And, you know, I said, all right, I got $300. This girl I was with, another girl. I was with this girl, okay, and she said, why don't you open up a treatment center? I said, no, I don't want to open up a treatment center because I had 2 bad experiences, 2 other treatment centers. You're going to have to read about it, guys, okay, where my therapist betrayed me and my doctor. Okay, so I don't want to go into the details.
Yeah.
Anyway, I opened up a treatment center with them and it didn't work out. But it worked out for me anyway because it made me to where I am today.
Exactly.
But anyway, my friend owned a little building with 750 square feet. I had a spending addiction. By the way, we have other addictions. That was one of my addictions. So anyway, I had $300 left in the bank. And I said, well, how much is this room? He said, how much money you got? I said, I got $300 in the bank. He said, take it for 3 months, make some money, and then pay me $300 a month. I said, okay. So that's what I did. So I was the only employee. Then I got my friend who became my business partner, but I didn't know how to run a business really, you know. So when I used to take the money from the clients, used to put it in my pocket, and that was it. So he said, well, I said, look, I'll give you half the business. He said, okay, let me see your books. I said, what books? I don't have any books. He said, well, how do you know who pays you? I said, well, they'll pay me, don't worry. As long as I have enough money for the rent and food, I'm good, you know? Well, he said, no, that's not going to work that way. Anyway, he went in, then he brought his son in, and we had bill collectors chasing us. Sometimes we couldn't even, then we got hired more people. We started growing, okay, and we couldn't even make salaries one time. It was like a nightmare. Anyway, in 2012, we sold it for $45 million.
Wow.
So this is another time I would have punched you in the face if you would have told me something like that.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is this. I remember these sayings, and I hated them, by the way. Give time. Beyond your wildest dreams, your life would be. I said, these people are out of their minds. Okay? I remember early in recovery, I was a year clean, and I says, hey, listen, man, when is this going to get better? I'm still feeling depressed, and I'm still feeling anxious, and all this other kind of stuff. They said, did you use today? I said, no, it already got better, John. I said, well, I can't argue with that one. And then God, I didn't want to hear about God. I said, look, I didn't join these NAAA stuff to get a new religion. He said, so one of the old timers came and says, John, how about G-O-D? I said, look, man, I know how to spell. He said, no. Good, orderly direction. Okay, that's my God. That's my higher power. And that was my higher power for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then I changed into the God of my understanding. Mm. So for those of you out there, you think it's hopeless? That's only because you think it's hopeless. It's not hopeless.
No, it isn't.
That's the baloney you tell yourself.
Yep.
All right? Never give up. Never give up on your passions, on your dreams. Okay? Never let anything get in your way. Just put one foot in front of the other. Time's going by anyway, so instead of sitting on your butt, do something with that time. Yep. Time is a blessing. God, whatever God is to anyone out there, gave us this body, this gift of life. It's what you do with this body and this gift of life is you give back to God. Mm-hmm. So what are you doing with your body? What are you doing with your mind? What are you doing with your spirit? Okay, are you just here to gather stuff? It's okay to gather stuff, but the bottom line is, what are you doing to give back to the universe, to give back to people less fortunate than you? What are you doing about that? You need to ask yourself, is it only about gimme? Okay, you got to give to get. And to me, that's what life's about.
Absolutely.
And God blessed me in so many ways today. I got married again to my third wife. And I didn't want to fail, so I went to therapy. I went to so much therapy, I couldn't believe it. But I didn't realize that she was more nuts than me. Okay? So I said, I was married for 6 months with that one. First one was 5 years. Yeah. The other one was 8 years, and this one was 6 months. And now we just celebrated our anniversary with my wife today, who's the best woman I ever met in my entire life. Okay? 29 years.
Yes! Wow. Woo! That's awesome.
You know, I tell you, I learned how to have a relationship, and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
What I learned was when I was treating people, couples, I felt like a fraud because I never had a good relationship myself. Okay? So finally, I figured it out. Stop trying to change other people, number one. Stop putting expectations on people, number two. Work on you.
Yeah.
If you work on you and they work on them, then you can work on the relationship, and then it's not even work anymore. I have the best woman I have ever met in my entire life, and I'm going to give you a little example. I was broke as a joke. She came into my life. There's a whole story in the book about that. All right? She had a brand new car. Her 2 kids were destroying the car, and I said, look, we're going out 3 months. I said, sell the car. Give me the money, and I'll buy you a car one day 10 times better. She sold the car, and her family freaked out. She gave me $20,000. I built the business, and about 6 or 7 years later, I bought her a Bentley. And that's when she never cared about the money, and she still doesn't.
She loved you.
And the bottom line is that I always wanted a woman that can cook. She doesn't cook. Well, she cooks, but I don't like it.
That's great.
I love it. I love
Clip
it. I love
it. Clip that.
It's just a truthful program, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I always want a girl to be in karate. She don't like karate.
No.
So everything I didn't want, but what she does give me is emotional support. She believes in me. She gives me the things that I really need and want,
Yeah.
which to me is more important.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know that was important.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was looking at the outside stuff, not the inside stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anybody gets anything out of this, look on the inside stuff, not the outside stuff.
Yes.
Look, I got a beautiful car. I have the Cybertruck now. I just got it. Okay, I got all these fancy things. I like nice things like anybody else.
Of course.
But if I lost them, I don't care. Because I never had anything to begin with anyway.
Yeah.
So, I earned it. My friends told me, John, you work 7 days a week. You work day and night. A little work addiction, by the way. But listen, I'm so addicted. I don't even know what I'm addicted to. People go, well, what is addiction anyway? I said, look, here's how you know you're an addict. Okay, I'll make it simple for you out there. If you continue to use a substance or a behavior in spite of adverse consequences, maybe you need to take a look at it. And that is the most simplest way I can tell you.
Take a look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, any questions?
Well, actually, I was going to mention that here we practice a model where we utilize 5 key recovery concepts, right? Hope, personal responsibility, education, self-advocacy, and support. And it's brilliant. I've been trying to keep track of it while you were sharing your story. Every single one of those was exemplified by something that you talked about. The importance of having hope in your life, taking personal responsibility, right? Making sure you educate yourself on your body, and not only that, what's out there, what you're putting into your body. That whole the beauty of advocating for yourself and your needs, and of course, the most important, in my opinion, surrounding yourself with supportive people. And I just want to let you know that it's awesome to hear it in your story, and more than anything, I think the part that impresses me the most is that mentality is not common to hear in people, the mentality of never giving up.
Because they're sleeping. That's what it is. We're so wrapped up in internet and looking good and social media and, how people see us and how much money can I make. And, if you don't have your health, you don't have your wealth.
Yep.
There you go.
And it's really simple stuff. Simple things. Oh, I don't have any money. What can I do? You can exercise. You don't have to go to the gym. You can do push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks. You can go to Wendy's and get a salad. It's
you
cheap.
said it. It's like the focus on your internal, right? And if we just focus on that first, which every single day you can do something for your internal.
Absolutely.
And when you're focusing on that, the external kind of works itself out.
Well, what people don't understand, you have to be careful of how you speak because your words, believe it or not, control the chemicals in your body.
Boom. Yes.
Okay? So when you hear people, and I hear people say, well, I'm going to try to work out. Okay, I'm going to try to pay you today.
Change it.
Let me know how that works for you. All right? Either you're doing it or you don't do it.
Yep.
Oh, I think I could do that. That means you're not sure. So watch the verbiage you use in your language because your brain says, oh, he thinks so maybe he can't do it or not,
My friends get annoyed with me because that's like one of my biggest pet peeves. Like my wife does it all the time. when she tells me, "Oh, I'm so stupid for doing this." I know you're not. You made a mistake. You're human. And like she like gets mad at me, like, "Stop doing that." I'm like,
Well, they don't understand. When you tell your brain you're stupid, your brain says, "Well, I'm stupid, so probably I'm stupid."
exactly.
Right.
That
Well, your
language
thinking
is such a
drives your
huge
behavior.
thing.
Yeah, your
Which
language
who you
drives
think.
your behavior.
100%, which then drives also your identity. So like how you formulate. And also when you look at, it's the same thing that I look at with habits, right? My habits also correlate to my identity. And so when you look at the power in those things, you're right. There's always somewhere where you can start.
And listen, I do not do this perfect. If you find anybody does it perfect, let me know because I want to pray to them.
There you go. There you go. 100%. There you go.
Let's make it simple.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's in my life that was like one of the biggest struggles. Is like growing up, I always had this mentality where I would keep telling myself that I'm a failure or that I suck or that I'm not capable. And what it ended up is to getting in patterns where that is exactly
That's
what
how you
happened.
become not capable. It's like I teach karate. Like when a guy says, "I don't want to get hit in the face. I want to wear a brace." It's the first thing that happens when they're fighting. They get hit in the face.
Yeah.
You draw it to you.
Draw it to you.
I don't know if you guys believe in frequencies, but frequencies, we're on a different frequency. If you turn the dial on a radio, you get AM and FM, right?
Right.
OP, whatever. Okay? We're going at certain frequencies. If you run a higher frequency, you'll attract that energy to you. Lower frequency, you attract that energy to you. You know? I mean, I was in gangs. I was in all this stuff. So I kept saying, why am I always in fights? Why am I always in fights? I'm in a gang.
Yep.
You know? And I have that mentality.
Yeah.
You know? So you have to change your mindset. Meditation, really important. Oh, I can't sit still. No, you have to practice.
Yes.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect.
See, our society today is let's take a pill and we can fix it. No. You fix you. Nothing else fixes you.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the message. Never give up and keep going.
Yeah. Well, I do have a question. Whenever we end My Story Matters, we always try to ask our guests to share a piece of advice. One prevalent part of your story that I especially was drawn to when I first heard about you was that you grew up in the life of like being involved with gangs and stuff like that. And sadly, that's a big problem that we see in our communities, especially here in Broward for young people.
Because the family systems are a mess.
Exactly. So I want to ask your opinion here for any young people that might be listening to, or any older people who are looking how to get out of that, but they just don't know how to do it. What would be a piece of advice that you would give to that community?
Here's what helped me. I only can tell you what helped me. I joined a karate class. And the reason why I joined, believe it or not, I was in a gang at the time. We saw this karate school. I said, man, I wonder how tough the karate teacher is. Let's see if I can beat him up. I was 14 and a half year old idiot. Okay? Now I could call myself that. Then I could call myself, and he goes, that was pretty stupid. Anyway, I went up there. The class was ending. So I went back home. I told my father, my mother, I wanted to go join the class. And my mother said, "Oh, you're going to get hurt." And my father said, "No, you need that." So anyway, my mother agreed finally. And because she was really the boss. He thought he was the boss, but it doesn't work like that. Nope. Anyway, I guess we're happy wife, happy life.
Yeah,
you know,
there
that
you
kind
go.
of thing.
I believe it.
Okay, I learned that too.
I'm learning it.
So the bottom line is I went into the school. It was a jiu-jitsu night. I didn't even know the difference. So the teacher's teaching us how to roll, to fall. And then he sits us down in a circle. He's going to teach us how to block a punch. He says, "Do you have a volunteer?" I raised my hand. So he's talking to the class, and I sneak punch him. I suggest you don't do that, by the way. All right, all I know is I winded up on the floor. I had a foot in my throat and a big smiley face looking at me. I fell in love with the martial arts. And that's how I started in the martial arts.
Yeah.
And, it got me out of the gangs. It took that energy. And not only that, I had a family of the martial arts, too. Okay? So then I had a place to go. I had a place to challenge myself. I had a place to get rid of some of my anger.
Yeah.
Okay? And learn that anger works against you. It doesn't work for you.
Yeah. That's why I'm a big advocate for boxing. Because I
was a boxer. I did boxing also.
There you go. Boxing is a great sport to find that community.
No, you know what I love about it is like, I
go.
taught in Liberty City in Overtown in our black community.
Mm-hmm.
We had a school. You got 2 minutes I can tell you about that?
Please,
Of course.
Okay. So one of my black belts was a Green Beret guy, Special Forces. He also was a gang leader in Liberty City in Overtown. Now, this is 1965. Okay. White people didn't go into that place at all. All right. So here I am. I have long hair. I have a handlebar mustache. I have
Nice.
no shoes on. I'm in a karate uniform
Nice.
with my belt on, right? My black belt. And I walk into this Carver YMCA. So when you walk in, there was a pool hall. Everybody stopped playing pool. They're looking at me. I walk into the gym. Through the gym, everybody stops working out and they look at me. The karate school was in the back. So I go into the karate school, and this big guy, his arms were bigger than my leg. He says, "Hey, white boy, do you think you can kick my butt?" He didn't say butt, but I'm trying to be nice.
Thank you.
All right? So I says, "Yeah, come on the mat." I was 165 pounds. All right? He gets on the mat. He tries to sneak punch me. I sidestep him. I round kick him in the solar plexus, knock him to his knees. He can't breathe. And my student comes walking in. "Oh, I see you met my teacher." And from then on in, everybody would come in there. They would try to challenge me. I would beat them up and then hug them and bring them into the class because I knew who these kids were. They were the same kids I was growing up.
Bro, I got chills. Like,
So
it's
most
such a
of my black
powerful
belts
story.
are from that community.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So,
incredible.
And the
Moral of the
Hispanic
story.
community. And
oh, yeah.
Miami Beach, the Jewish kids.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I got everybody,
That's awesome.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
Matter of fact, I used to sneak the kids home. See, in Miami Beach, I don't know if you guys, you're too young to know this, but Miami Beach, 6 o'clock, okay, before sundown, all black people had to leave the beach.
Wow.
Yeah. So I used to sneak him. I had put one guy in my trunk one time to get him to leave the city so the cops don't do anything.
Wow.
So, because I used to have my school right in Miami Beach. So it was pretty wild.
Powerful, man.
Anyway,
But yeah, moral of the story, hope. Like, you're
always hope and
Always
never
hope.
give up.
never give up.
You know, if you want to cry, cry while you're doing something instead of sitting doing nothing.
Oh, I like that. Mom tells you clean your room. Fine. Yeah, of course.
That's
I
right.
love that mentality.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Man,
gosh.
that was awesome. Yeah,
I
thank
love
you so
this.
much.
It was so great.
If you guys want more, there is a book coming out. So
There's a book.
please.
Well,
No,
it's already out. It's on
out.
Amazon.
It's on
It's
Amazon.
okay,
I
it's
saw
already on
it.
Amazon.
I was doing a little bit of research and I saw you have a podcast. Please shout out your podcast.
Oh, we have a podcast, The Pros and Cons of Psychedelic Medicine and How to Beat Your Addictions.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you got books coming out. We'll definitely leave a couple
Yeah, go
sites.
to the website. John, the letter J, Giordano, Giordano.com.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you'll see all the stuff I'm doing, and you'll see some about 39 research papers and podcasts and television shows and radio shows, all kinds of stuff.
Yep. We'll leave those description in the comments below. Before we do our outro, we want to give a little bit of time for the gala. So,
Yes.
Kayla, can you share a little bit about the gala?
Absolutely. So we're so excited. We are celebrating 10 years of community impact, and we are celebrating with a gala this year, which is a fundraiser as well to continue to do the work that we're doing and meet individuals where they're at and provide them what they need. Our gala is going to be September 28th. The theme is Butterflies and Bridges, which really speaks to our organization and the work that we do. And so we want to invite you all to join, attend. If you have either things that you want to donate as auction items or just do a donation, there are sponsorship opportunities as well, which we will leave down in the link. So thank you so much.
Yep. Before we close, do you have something to say?
Yeah, my mother, when she was 80, she got a tattoo of a butterfly on her shoulder. So that's really cool.
Butterflies have a very big
Yeah.
meeting here at South
Yeah,
Florida
huge.
Wellness
I
Network.
have actually I have one here.
Yeah.
too.
Oh, our murals out here in the lobby. When you walk out, you'll see them. We got
Well, that's how
butterflies
you
all over.
change from
Yeah, it's a change.
one
Yeah.
thing to another. That's what recovery's about, right?
It
Yeah,
is,
there you go. So before we also close out, my friend over here, do you mind? He's not looking at me. Ed, come on. I want to give a big shout out to Ed. He helped us make this episode possible. You guys saw him last week too. He's been really cool at getting us connected with people. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
give a moment to highlight you and say thank you because you're
Absolutely,
awesome.
absolutely.
thank you.
So
He does a
thank you
great
for that.
job, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you.
And,
yeah,
and
thank
again,
you.
Dr. John J. Giordano, thank you so much for coming.
Hey, it's my honor and my pleasure.
Please make
Awesome.
sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that cool stuff. If you're on YouTube, make sure to share with the podcast with as many people as possible. Helps us connect with more people and get more guests on the podcast.
Yep.
And if you're one of our awesome, lovely audio listeners, we see you. We love
you.
And we care about you. And we thank you for listening. Make sure to give that 5-star rating if you can. It really helps, again, boost the podcast to more people. We will see you next week with another great episode of Talkin Wellness. Bye-bye.